Welcome back to In the Booth, is where we get to talk about baseball in all different colors and forms. And it's Football Boys here, and I'm talking with somebody who actually has a bigger booth than I. I mean, you're talking
I
about
doubt it.
the stalwart of Curve Brim Media, the dad hat himself. What's going on, my man?
What's up, man? It's good to be again in the booth with you, man. How you been, bro?
Man, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy doing the whole baseball thing, man. A couple seasons in, and just, I'm now feeling it coming from professional wrestling, and I realize everything is wrestling when it's all said and done. But to be alongside someone like yourself is always a good time.
We're about to have some fun. That's all I know.
Let's talk about it, man. First things first, which I thought was interesting when I discovered this about you, is that I think you're the only Guardians fan in my network.
Really?
Now, is that a badge of honor or is it
I mean,
something
I'll
kind of
take
weird?
it. I'll take
Yeah.
it. I mean,
Why
I
the
wish it was a
Guards,
different
man?
name, but I mean, I'll take it.
Okay, let's talk about that. The name changed a couple years ago. I
Yep.
mean, it was a tribe, it was the Indians. People were
Correct.
saying it was good, people were saying it wasn't good. Where do you land on that, man?
I grew up an Indians fan. Like when I moved from Puerto Rico, I moved here, right? And that was my team, no matter what. Like in Puerto Rico, like everybody was a Yankees fan, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it, right? I don't know
Okay.
why, just couldn't do it. So I waited until we got here to, well, not here, but when I waited to move to Cleveland, I was like, that's my team, no matter what. Cleveland, that's it. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
why? Okay. I just said hate the Yankees because I do too, right?
yeah,
Of the 29 other teams, you're just like not the Rockies, not the Athletics. Why the Guards or the
that
Indians?
was my first official major league ball game that I went to. Right, that was the very first one. I mean, I remember a friend of the family took us to the game, and I remember sitting all the way at the top at the nosebleeds of Jacobs Field with that was the name back then. And I don't know if you ever did this, but like they used to drop the souvenir cups and the ice cream helmets and all that, and then we collected so many of them and took it home with us.
Yeah.
That day, I mean, I still remember that. That was like that's etched in my brain forever. And I don't know, man. I've always I liked it. I like the Chief Wahoo, right? The movie Major Leagues and all that. So like I mean it's that was a team. I don't know. It's just I grew up with it.
Okay, and the name change, and you were so on board, or
So yes and no, right? So my name that I wanted was for them to bring back the Spiders. That was the name that I wanted. The Cleveland
wait,
Spiders.
the record for the most like futile team on the
Well, so
planet?
all right, so people say that, right? But here's what
Yeah.
happened, right? So there was two teams. The owner had two teams: the St. Louis Browns and the Cleveland Spiders.
Okay.
So all of both the teams, what they were doing, and the owner was doing is he was moving all of the good players to the St. Louis Browns. So he was loading up the St. Louis Browns and sending all the crappy players to the Spiders.
Oh, okay, I got
So
you.
everybody's like, "Oh well, worst records." Yeah, no wonder it was the worst records. You were taking all the good players, and then sending them over to St. Louis so they can win a championship, and then leaving Cleveland without a viable good team. So that's
Okay.
the reason why a lot of people don't know that. People are like, "Oh, they were the worst team." Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
why.
I actually learned something new today. So they
You're
did not
welcome.
pick the Spiders; they picked the Guardians based on that bridge. It looks like, and so you were
Yep.
upset about that. You have, I mean, like,
The
I know
Guardians,
name-
they're the
yeah.
Guardians of Traffic. That's what the bridge is. The Guardians of Traffic.
Okay, and I know they had to make a change. They couldn't be the Indians forever. Wahoo couldn't be there forever. So
Correct.
even though people wanted to bring that back, so the
Yeah,
name change
they still do.
happened. Yeah, so I want to know about this. I know there's that debate of what things look like for optics, right? Because I mean, Wahoo was a beat shade of red.
I
Like,
mean,
he
that thing was
he-
bright, bro. I mean,
and
that's
those
the.
teeth were quite large.
I mean, yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I know when people get attached to something, like for example, in New York City, there's a team that's called the Red Storm. But when I was a kid, there were the St. John's Red Men that the people complained about when the name got changed.
Miami University in Ohio.
Yeah, same deal. So like, what's been the pulse in Cleveland about this? The whole idea of the tribe becoming the Guardian.
So it, that's very polarizing. That's a very polarizing. Like I mean, if you go on social media right now, and if you go, say, people will still be. It's like there will always be the Indians to me. There will always be the Indians. I mean, listen, I still got all of my Indians gear. I got my jackets, my hoodies. I got all of the hats. I mean, and we talked about this. I have well over 600 hats, and I'm not going to get rid of it.
600.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got
it.
like 45, and 20 of those because of you.
I know,
20
my bad.
Go ahead, 600.
Right, but like I'm not going to get rid of that stuff. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, if the Indians come back, they come back. At this point, listen, I'm a whatever. It is what it is. I mean, I'm a Guardians fan. I'm going to represent the Guardians, right? And that's my team. If you're going to go with this wing G that they have right now, that logo, listen.
awful.
Yes, I agree. But use it as a cap. Put it on a cap for one of the playing caps. Don't use a regular C, which I do also think that this C is better than the previous C, right? So do something a little bit better, right? Like the uniforms is always boring, the same colors and all that. So I just wanted to do something, right? Like we had an opportunity when the name was changing to do something different, to go a new chapter in Cleveland baseball history, right? But the owner decided that you were going to keep. Now, listen, it's Indians, Guardians, very similar, right? So there was not a whole lot. It was like, oh, the fans chose this. Actually, as a matter of fact, the majority of the fans wanted the Spiders. But that's neither here nor there, right? So, like this we can go into the whole debate of well, the team ran a poll. Okay, at the end of the day, the owner's going to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. Owner makes final call, and so
Exactly.
man, 600 hats. That's crazy. So,
Yeah.
your team since day one in your estimation, who's been like your guys? Who were the players you loved growing up and seeing, and who was the ones you associate with today?
Man, the players that I grew up with: Sandy Alomar, Robbie Alomar, right? The Alomar brothers, Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton. You had Omar Vizquel, right? You had these players. Jose Mesa, which by the way, he blew the '97 World Series, but that's neither near here nor there. You had these great players back in the '90s, man. Jim Thome, that dude used to just bash baseballs, right? And those were the players that I grew up with. And you just like when you see Albert Bell getting into the plate, and you knew that this dude was either going to hurt you or hurt the baseball you pick.
The toughest guy in baseball, I felt like people were afraid of this man. Like
they kind of still are.
that's dad strikes, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your collection. You did mention you have over 600. That's crazy. Shout out to the room or garage or wing.
Right now they're in bins because I compromised with my wife.
Okay, yeah.
She was like, yeah, you can put them in a bin, and then so I did.
Okay, yeah, man. And I guess you bring out a bin every year or so to see.
I take out some hats, here and there, right? I do.
Okay, so talk to me about the day it chose you, because Cheats is also an avid collector. When did you decide, look, man, hats is great, because you are a DadHat collector. I mean,
Correct.
You are the DadHat. Like,
Right.
what was that moment you're like, I'm getting like 30 of these today?
I love, first of all, and there's a big misconception that people think that I don't like fitted hats. I love fitted hats. I love them. I have fitted hats as well. But I always felt more comfortable with a DadHat just because I can take a DadHat and then, put it in a backpack, it can get ruffled and everything, and it won't get damaged at all. Right. I'm a firm believer that hats are meant to be worn. I mean, there's some people that buy them and put them in displays and maybe wear them once a year or once every couple of years, depending on the size of your collection. But I've always liked them. I've always been fascinated with how they fit my face, and and my wife loves them, so I'm okay with that as well.
Man, you just call yourself handsome? Just
Of course I
did.
did.
Well, if it's my face better, you know how it is.
It does. Listen, we all know that. Listen, let's be honest, right? A hat will fit you, so it is what it is. Like bucket hats, I look like a total dork on a bucket hat. I won't wear them. You know what I mean? A dad hat, I will wear them. A fitted hat, I'll wear them.
What happens if you go to a game and there's a bucket hat giveaway? You just like toss it? You just go to eBay
No,
or something?
I mean, I'll usually will get it, obviously, or give it to a kid or something, depending on if I like the logo or whatever. Also, the bucket hat, sometimes I use them for when I'm doing yard work or if I go to the pool or the beach. Yeah, those were the ones where you use them.
So let's talk about how we actually connected the first time. It's kind of a really roundabout way. So my dream is to visit all 30 ballparks. I'm at 24 right now, and after this year, I should be up to 28. Just basically leaving Ohio to be the last two, depending on what it is. Kind of ironic, right, having
Right.
your show. And I came across Baseball Bucket List, which is a way to track. I was on
Yep.
that show a couple of years ago, and that's part of Curved Brim Media. That makes sense. DadHat, right, being part of that. So, and then I came across your show, and it was kind of cool having someone with a little bit of soul talk about the game of baseball. So walk me through that idea, having your own brand, having the Curved Media brand, how you juggle them both. How's it been going?
So, Curb, let's start with DadHat, right? Like, so DadHat Chronicles started during the pandemic. I needed an outlet. I mean, I was stuck in Ohio, right? It was snowing and everything, and it was just I needed an outlet. So I was like, all right, let me start, doing a couple things here and there with DadHat Chronicles. I had a Twitter account. It didn't go anywhere, so I started there. And then I've always wanted to be in radio. That was my dream job. Be a talk host, right? Sports
Like
talk.
who? Who was the influence?
So, nobody in particular, but one of my favorite shows used to be, when I was in Cleveland, is Adam and the Bull and Fox show, right? They were sports talk. They always went at each other. They were always bantering. So that was one of my things. Like I love talk radio. Talk radio is one of my favorite things. So I was like, all right, well, I can't do radio right now because it's very hard to get in. I'm going to get back to this idea of radio in the future. So I was like, all right, the next best thing is I'm going to start a podcast, right? At first it was going to be called Collector's Corner because I wanted to talk to collectors, right? Just like you and everybody, right? Collecting whatever it was. But then I had a friend of mine says like, why don't you just call it DadHat Chronicles Podcast? It's wide open. You can eventually, pivot to whatever you want. And I was like, bet, done. Right there. And it grew from there.
Yeah.
So one of the interviews I did was Paul Caputo, right? Baseball by Design. And, we started following each other on Twitter and all that. And I was like, hey, Paul, I know you're a writer. So I got his book, which is really good, talking about baseball, right? Their logos and minor league and how they got the name, which is really good. And so I asked him, hey, want to come on the podcast, right? He's like, absolutely. He was like, doing the interview, he says, like, Ed, I'll be honest with you. If you would have been called the Flatbrand Chronicles, I would have not followed you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we are both, because we both like the same style of hats. And then, one day I just pitched, it's like, hey, man, do you want to start a network? Like a podcast network? And he goes, I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. It's like, bam. And so we
said,
decided,
hell nah, the end. Nah.
right, exactly. So, and that's where Corporate Media was born. It was me and him. We were the co-founders of Corporate Media.
So a lot of media outlets start off in the pandemic, myself included. My sister show, New Amsterdam Radio, started in 2019, but it really got big during the pandemic. But what kept you going? I mean, people said it's a bit of a challenge when everyone went back to work in their real lives, but you just had to double and triple down on the brand or brands to build them. What was your decision to do that?
Honestly, we all need an outlet, right? We all have something that we need to do to make sure that our need to express ourselves is out there. Mine has been talking to people. I love talking to people. I mean, I'll talk to a wall if I have to. I don't really care. So I just say, I was like, honestly, I can't stop. I can't stop. I mean, I love meeting people. I love baseball, first of all. And then meeting people that work in a business, why not? And like we were talking about, it's like, right. And then my ultimate goal is to have my own radio station.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Right. And then I was like, so I have to develop my skills as someone who is a podcaster, someone who runs a sports show, which, by the way, Tuesday and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern time, DadHat Chronicles sports shows. Tune in
You're
on
already
YouTube.
jumping ahead the format of the show. That comes later.
I know, right? Exactly. But anyways, so I just needed to continue with it. And, I got the support from the wife and, the family, so I couldn't say no.
So let's talk about that, the support side of things, man. I know a lot of times it can be hard if someone's like, are you still doing that thing? But, I mean, you said your wife, your family's down for it, trying to see what the potential is going to be. With minor league prospect, we talk about upside, right? What's the upside of DadHat Chronicles? What's the upside of Curb and Review as it is right now today?
So right now, right, we've been around since 22. So we're in 2025 now. So, like, I mean, we're at the point where I was like, all right, this is the year for me to grow, right? But if you think about it, like we have had already 3 years of doing the Kerber Media Meetup, right? We select a location. We say, hey, we're gonna be here. Why don't you come meet us? You know, all fans of baseball. We'll go to some games and we'll get to know each other. And it's been such a positive, outcome from that because I've gotten to meet so many people across the U.S.
Yeah.
Even Canada, right? For God's sakes, right?
So that's very important because a lot of times when people try to say, I got a brand or a fashion label or something like that, but there is a really important part for the community component. Those meetups are amazing. Hopefully, I get to go to one of those one time.
Hey man, we're going to Chicago, so I'm just letting you know.
I feel like we're all like circulating two different directions. We will cross paths at some point, but that's also super important having these community meetups and meeting your fans. And is there anything that was surprising about your fan base, about something that threw you off, or something that was kind of unexpected, but who shows up to these things?
Honestly, I think the best thing that has come out of all of this, and meeting people and fans of the podcast is their authenticity. Like how cool they are, how great I was like, they're such good people, right? Like people in Iowa, Lynn, who is like, she's such a big, huge fan. Then you got my friends, Patrick Larson, Eric Prophet, Donnie Wise, Virgil Brooks. These guys, we all always talking, and it's been fun because we can all banter with each other and talk about baseball, even other sports, right? But that's been one of the most surprising and yet fulfilling part of this brand.
Yeah. Quick question, kind of shifting gears a bit. Are you pro or anti Savannah Bananas?
All right. So here's the answer. That's good. That's good on your part. You did your research, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not against the bananas. I'm not. It's a great product that it's served its purpose. It's not baseball.
Oh.
It should not be called baseball.
Oh.
It's not baseball. It's entertainment. They are, for lack of a better word, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, so, everybody's entitled to their opinion. They are the Globetrotters of baseball. And some people are going to say, well, Ed, the Globetrotters always win. No, they actually lost one, but that's whatever. The Bananas don't always win. It doesn't matter. It's the same format. Okay? It's entertainment.
Would you buy a ticket to see a banana ball?
I have gone to them.
Okay.
I have gone to the Bananas. I've seen it when they were here in North Carolina, to the Durham Bulls. My daughter enjoyed it. It was fun. I mean, these guys, they're absolute wonderful entertainers, right? The professor, he is absolutely wonderful. One of the nicest person you'll ever meet.
What would make it baseball then? You said it wasn't baseball.
The only thing that makes it baseball right now to me is that they're on a baseball field.
So it has to be completely different to even qualify as baseball.
No, it's not baseball though. That's the thing though, because okay, you have a bat, you have a ball, and you have infielders, but that's it. After that, the rules are totally different than the traditional baseball. Again, I'm not a traditionalist. I'm all about change for the to make the game better. It's just Savannah Bananas is not. It is a totally different subsection of the sport. It's.
For the record, I actually agree with you. I'm just kidding.
I know what you got to do.
I agree with you because even the Harlem Globetrotters comparison doesn't fit for me because it was an actual regulation game. Yeah, they kind of had their own liberties with the shot clock, right? But if I catch a basketball and I shoot it as a fan, it should not count.
If I catch a ball in the foul territory, it should not count as an out. Again,
I understand that.
It's entertaining. Listen, good for them. It is great that it is entertaining. I have other issues with them as a whole, but that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand that kind of like hybrid thing. Everyone's like, you have a good time. Baseball's kind of button up. That kind of leads into my next question. We ask everyone on the show this because baseball's going through some changes, and whether or not you're a fan of the changes or the direction it's going into, is baseball cool as a sport right now? Why or why not?
I think it is. Absolutely. Listen, we have a $700 million people, right? You got Shohei Ohtani, which is, by the way, one of the most known figures in all of baseball, in sports. You don't have to follow baseball to know who Shohei Ohtani is. We know who he is, right? He brings not only the fact that you bring an American fan base, you also bring the Japanese fan base into all of this, right? So, which is one of the most popular sports over there. So, yeah, absolutely. You got Juan Soto, who with your boys, right? Your Mets, right? That
I'm
dude
conflicted, but I hear you.
me too, me too. In my opinion, I think they overpaid.
Well, everyone's going to overpay. I'm just saying, as a fan of Juan Soto, I'm conflicted. Or not a fan of Juan Soto being on the team I love, I'm conflicted. But
Yeah.
whoever's going to get him was going to overpay for him.
100%. I'm just glad that some teams didn't overpay for them because they were able to actually do other things with that money. The Blue Jays are in kind of a disarray right now. They should have never been on the Soto sweepstakes because look what's happening with.
That's fact.
Okay. But you look at what they're going to do with Vladdy, right? Like, I mean, all of a sudden, like you're telling me that Vladdy's not worth at least half of what, Soto is. So, but anyways, yeah, I think baseball is an absolute, listen, there's so much money in baseball. Absolutely. So, people are like, oh, it's boring. That's because you're not paying attention. Pay attention.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to catch a game, right? So many ways to experience it. I've watched games or sat with the people who are more stats based, and those who score, those who do the whole stuff my face every inning, the 999 challenge guys. How do you experience a baseball game? You take me out to watch a Guards game in Cleveland.
I don't pay attention to stats. First of all,
Fair
that's
enough.
not me.
How do you experience it? Where do you sit? What do you eat? How do I get the vibe from you?
So I actually like to sit. There's two places. Like you can sit right above home plate, all the way at the top. Just so you can look at the whole field. But also, I like to sit by third base or first base, whichever where the home team is, just so I can see what the vibe is. I'm all about body positioning, right? Like I'm looking at how you position yourself at first base or second base, third base, how the pitcher is, and all that. I look at all of that. I'm a visual person. That's who I am.
Yeah.
I was like, look at, we were noticing during the Kerpa Media meetup last year that second base, third base, and shortstop, they were all, when the pitcher was ready to, to sit up on the windup, they were all hunch up. And then as soon as he threw it, all three of them jump at the same time.
Yeah.
They did the little jump. So now when you are at a game live, just pay attention to that. Second, third, and short. They're going to do the same thing. They get ready and then they jump as soon as they go. So I'm all about that. Like, how the left fielder positions himself, so I'm all about that. All about that. The mannerisms of the players, they have every single one player have something particular about them that can either tip a baseball, they can tip the way that they're going to swing a bat, and then they study that so hardcore.
And what are you eating? What are you drinking?
Hot dogs. I'm a fan of hot dogs. I love Pepsi, so I do that, or nice summer shandy.
Wait, how'd you go from hot dogs to summer shandy? You classy and son of a gun.
Oh yeah, hot dogs in the summer shandy, baby.
A nice little glass. Yes.
I gotta pick up my little pinky up, okay?
So you said you're not a big stats guy. Is that by design? Is it kind of like
There's too many stat guides. If I want to know a stats, I can ask somebody about it.
I feel like there's almost been a stat backlash talking to a lot of fans of the game where it's like sabermetric was great because it opened up the game to experience it different ways, but there's almost like this like unplugged analog movement to get back to the smells and sounds of it.
Yeah. Dude, just pay attention to what's on the field. Listen, I'm not saying that stats is not a big part of it. Absolutely. I think it is. Right. But I think it's a tool. You should not be dependent on it. You should use it in your favor. Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us like, well, the stats say that you should throw, a curveball to this player right now, stop, read the player, just read the situation. What's going on?
Yeah.
Right. Because then you take the pitcher or you take the player out of their comfort levels, and then they tend to make mistakes at that point.
Right. Absolutely. It's instinctual kind of a thing. I did adult softball. That's as far as I went. Did you do any of that kind of stuff at all?
I did softball for a season when I was in Cleveland. I actually played a little bit, super short, in high school catcher. But the problem is I'm 6'2", and I was a catcher and I have bad knees. So there goes that.
Fair enough. And now they got the knee savers. You're probably like, back in my day.
Bro,
we
I
had the-"
would. You know how bad I would have been. Oh my lord! The first player who I ever saw wearing knee savers was actually Sandy Alomar.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
That's who I first.
popular. That's what's up.
Yeah, I mean he's a tall dude, so
I did adult softball and I did catching in softball. So it's kind of fun because you're a catcher in softball. You kind of just stand around and do nothing. Right?
and you talk and you talk crap.
Absolutely, but we had someone we signed that was like not as athletically inclined, so the only other open position was third base. And let me tell you something: softballs ain't. And I was left-handed, so that was a bad idea.
Bro, you should have been at first base.
But they already had a lefty at first base. I had to do the whole like transition. It was kind of weird. That's like a trivia question for me. Playing third
There you
base
go.
lefty. So 2026 WBC, you on board? Not feeling
Yeah,
it?
oh
What
yeah,
do you think?
100%. Absolutely.
It's in March though. People are saying it. You know, it's the timing of it all. It's a
Doesn't matter.
minor tournament. Doesn't matter. Okay.
No, are you
Root for
kidding
Puerto
me?
Rico?
Did you see the last WBC? That thing was
I
super.
did. I'm on board.
Bro, I was enjoying every game. I was watching teams that I don't really care for. You know what I mean? Just because it was baseball. That championship game, Japan and USA, was so electric. And the fact that it actually broke down to, Otani and oh my God, dude, you kidding me?
Yeah. Do you
It
root
was
for
wonderful.
the U.S. or Puerto Rico, or do you say I'm going to watch a tournament because I'm a fan of baseball?
Well, I'm a son of Puerto Rico. That's Puerto Rico would be my first team. USA is second, just because my wife and obviously my daughter was born in Ohio. So, but yeah, Puerto Rico first, USA second.
I'm always torn. See, my parents are from a cricket country, so it's like there's not going to be.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be USA by default. But I really don't like those USA uniforms. The little strip of
Me
bacon.
either. Me either.
Yes, bacon.
Too bad Spain didn't make it, in the prequels, right? Because I love their hat, and that's something that I pay attention to. It's like, all right, who's wearing what uniforms, right? And all of that. USA was not my favorite. They did not have a good uniform. I'm sorry. It's just that they didn't.
It's awful. I mean,
yeah.
Great Britain gets laughed at because it's just Great Britain, but I actually respect that because it's like the Yankees. Whereas
Exactly.
this USA is like super like cheesy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm with you. 100%. Germany had a one. Oh my God, their uniforms was great. Who else had a good one? The Netherlands. Oh, dude, the Netherlands.
The orange, yeah.
Yep. So exactly.
Unfortunately, I don't think Germany qualified. I think Brazil beat them to qualify for the 2026.
Yep.
Which is
Out in
unfortunate.
Arizona.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, as a man who has so many different hats and loves baseball and minor league teams, because you made sure, because for those who don't know this, it's kind of, I'm pulling back the curtain a bit. I have this hard and fast rule. I only buy Mets caps. And DadHat was like, if you think about it, minor league teams shouldn't count.
You shouldn't.
And I started buying stuff. So it was a weird 2024. I had the MILB store on lock, just getting new hats, new drops.
Yep.
A lot of teams are doing the hype beast route with all these alternate identities. Some I like, some I think are just kind of
Correct.
cutter clone stamps. What say you about this? I like alternate identities back when they're more organic, but now it feels like a lot of teams are doing it for the sake of doing it. What do you think?
So the problem with how it becomes so popular, right? That some alternate identities just don't work. But the problem, the issue is like they're very hyper local, right? So they're very hyper local to the area, right? So, for example, Akron, the sauerkraut balls, right? Like they did a whole identity on that, right? At the Akron Rubber Ducks, which again, it's not an issue, but like. Sometimes you can only do, I believe it's 5 alternate identities now a year. Some people take full advantage of that, but that doesn't count your home away hats, uniforms, and then you also don't count the Copa brand, which is also another popular brand, right? So you still have 8 identities that you can play with throughout the year. I think it's sometimes some teams go a little too far with having too many.
Yeah. It does feel hyper local. Like when I was in college, so in our dorm we had the game MVP Baseball 2005, which is one of the best baseball games of all time, and we had this issue called the Montgomery Biscuit Incident, where I beat this kid with the Yankees with the Montgomery Biscuits, and so we all wore Montgomery Biscuit caps because it was kind of funny and silly. It's a biscuit. That's what it is. But it didn't feel like now every team is trying to be out quirking each other. Like I like the Jersey Diners. It makes sense, but like. I don't know. These team names are kind of like the Undertuggers and all that. So I'm kind of torn. Are you picking up any of these identities for gear at all this season?
I haven't done, haven't, I slow down picking hats. I do have a couple of them that I'm looking at right now. But I'm waiting to see what all the Copa identities are, right? So Copa, for for the guys that you don't know, is Hispanic celebration, right? The celebration of Hispanic culture with a lot of their minor league teams. So there are some teams who really do go and talk to their local Hispanic community and things like that. So they really embrace that. And then there are some that just said, we're just going to translate it into English, into Spanish, and I'm like, that's a cop out. That's not really Copa, right? Remember when the NBA did that? Los Lakers, you know what I mean? And all of that. And I'm like, bro, come on now. Can we not?
So let me ask you this, because from the Black Baseball Mixtape perspective, at least from Mark Cheats when he started the brand, it was getting more representation, authentic representation within the Black community. As someone who is from a baseball nation, or even though Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, but a baseball nation in its own right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can argue that there's a bit more of an authentic connection there. But let me ask you, as someone who's Puerto Rican, is it authentic from the inside in? Is baseball really organically working, or does it seem kind of like corporate? It doesn't seem like it.
It's corporatization, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's be honest about it. Like, listen, are we embracing it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, also, Major League Baseball should do a much better job really bringing in more people in the Black communities to really, because we have the 9, right? And that's another program that they did. It's not really, they're not really pushing it so much, but they really should, because, I mean, they got some great names and things that they could do in that department, but they're not doing it. Right. When it comes to the Hispanic culture, the Latino culture, whichever you want to say it, right? I think they has been very corporatized, and sometimes the messaging can get a little lost. Now, are there some people who are really pushing for it, so that because they are Hispanic and they are working and they are pushing it? For example, the mariachis, New Mexico, right? The Albuquerque Isotopes, they do an absolute wonderful job. The El Paso Chihuahuas, they really embrace their Hispanic culture there, and then they intertwine it with their normal brand.
Yeah. Is there like a one size fit all way to do that? 'Cause I know everyone wants to do this authentically, but you could go really dangerously into pandering, right? Like, how do you navigate that for any kind of subculture that may support a team?
And that's interesting, right? Because El Paso is very heavily Mexican culture, right? But then you go to Buffalo, which is a highly heavy Puerto Rican culture, right? Same with the Iron Pigs. The Iron Pigs did actually a pretty cool thing when they embraced two Hispanic cultures, where they embraced the Dominican side with the Mama Juanas culture identity. I'm sorry, and then the Coquis, which is the Puerto Rican part, right? So they really embraced in both. Does it work everywhere? It will not. That's not how that goes, right? Yeah. With the Montgomery Biscuits, and you brought that team up, is what they did something really cool with the kimchi, right? Very heavily influenced with Korean culture. So they embraced it in a different way. They embrace their cultural identity in a non-Hispanic way, which is absolutely wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, we definitely need some more of those. I had on my blog, justasandwich.com, last year. I had hey, I got to do my plugs too, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have my little rants, because here in Los Angeles, we have every team does this, but they have cultural identity days, like, it's Irish night, or it's Filipino night, or it's Chinese night. And I love it, because, there's cultures I know on a surface level, but I really want to know more about. But what I didn't like is that with the rise of, say, premium giveaways, you got to buy a special ticket. And I go, well, I want to learn about a culture. I'm not going to pay extra to learn about a culture. Like,
I'll just go down the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make it part of the regular, week. Like whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not like a Harry Potter thing. It's Italian Heritage Night. Let me know.
All right, cool. And I'm okay with that. Right, bring in different, Irish night, right, or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
I mean, it's 82 home games. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of it's of all the big five sports, because we talked about this on another episode of the show. I know it's not the point we're bringing up there, like
Yeah.
how the Rangers are the only team that doesn't do a Pride Night. And that's for whatever reason. I mean, it's 81 home games, and they decided you could throw it up on a Tuesday afternoon and be done with it. But they made a point to do that, and the exclusion's kind of like glaring there. But yeah, it's like when you want to have a culture in a game, you can always push that. It's as simple as can. You have some
Let me ask you
entertainment,
this.
have a shirt, why not?
Let me ask you this. You brought out the Rangers. Do you,
Yeah.
obviously the Rangers, they don't want to do, for whatever reason, they have
Whatever
chosen. That's their prerogative. I'm not here to judge.
Yeah.
But would you rather them not do it, or them just be like, all right, well, we're just gonna do a throwaway. Here's Pride Night, in the middle of the Wednesday. You know what I mean?
So that's a good question. And that's the reason why I prefaced this asking you about what it means to be authentic, right?
Yeah.
When you have these cultural nights, there's almost a level where it's a losing game because it's one night and it's over. You can bring the most authentic thing over, but next day it's going to be something else.
You just check the box.
Right. And yeah, you can have speeches, you can have something, but again, there's so much volume in baseball games because there's 81 home games. It almost seems like you really try, people would understand. Okay, I know what we're getting here. It's America. It's corporate. Here you go. Thanks for the little trinket and the little speech and kick us out the door. But that may mean more than anything else. We just had Black History Month, and I'm not trying to be someone who needs to see things all the time. But it took the Mets 4 days before they posted something, and I was
I was looking at the tracker. I was paying attention to the tracker.
I was a little heartbroken. I mean, here's a team. I became a Mets fan because I grew up with Butch Husky and Bernard Gilkey and guys like Move On, and it took them 4 days to say something. And some teams just did a graphic and was like, we're done. So yes, at least give me the scraps first. Let me dissect it later.
Again, the corporatization of a baseball team, right? It's corporate. It's very corporate. That's what it is. Let's be honest about it, right? I mean, you have a conglomerate of owners who right now own 42, I believe, at the time of this recording, minor league teams. Diamond Baseball Holdings. They own 42 teams, right? So they're going to go very corporate. Again, that's another conversation for another episode. But right, what my point is, they're going to just put it out, like, they're just going to throw out that, the little graphic, done, on Twitter or whatever they want to, their own social media that they would choose to do it. And then, all right, check the box. We're done. Moving on. Yeah. What's next? Right.
Exactly.
So there's no real intent behind that.
Yeah. And intent's always 9/10 of the game. But as we wind this down, let me ask you a question. Is there a minor league team that has a bit of swag that should be on my radar?
Oh, man. Oh, God. Check out the St. Paul Saints. They got one just really cool. They just came out with it. They're gangster. So yeah, I know. St. Paul Saints came out with a gangster. I'm telling you, you will love it. It's absolutely wonderful.
St. Paul, okay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. St. Paul Saints. They used to be an independent team, right? And then they were moved to the affiliated team, affiliated league. So it's very interesting what they've done there. But yeah, take a look at them. They are doing good stuff. Obviously, you have the Iron Picks who are always throwing something different every day, which is, again, we talk about finding that right balance of what to send out, what not to send, so.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that those are the two that you chose. I mean, I will never, you never will steal me wrong. They're DadHats, and they're gonna be on my radar for sure. And of course, as a Brooklyn Cyclones fan, you gotta check out the Seinfeld night every season. They do a ode to one of the greatest sitcoms of all time in Seinfeld. But
yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot of teams that are coming up with some good stuff out there. To be honest with you, the one place that I always follow. And they deserve their due. It's MLB promos on Twitter. They're always putting out what's coming out, and he does an absolute wonderful job of checking that stuff out. So
yeah, gotta make sure you know where the next deals are going to be for sure.
Let me tell you. So
man, DadHat, appreciate you spending time with us in the booth. But here's the fun part, right? If someone's listening to you, they want to know more about you, your brand, the meetups, the show, clothing line, like how to go about doing that.
So no clothing line just yet, but
come on,
stay in the future for that, right? But we're the network is called Brim Media. So if you go to curveprintmedia.com, you'll see all of the podcasters that are there and content creators. Right now, Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube, we have the DadHat Chronicles Sports Show, 9 p.m. until whenever we decide to stop. Really, there's no end on that. And then the podcast comes out every Monday, every Mondays on that. Working on something cool for the network, for the podcast. Remember I told you that I wanted to, my whole goal is always to own a radio station.
Yeah.
I'm working on an internet radio station, Corporate Media Radio Network. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
All right, before I hit the stop button on this, so 29 and 30 is going to be Cincinnati and Cleveland for me. Should I do Cincinnati first and end on Cleveland, or should I do Cleveland and end on Cincinnati?
Oh, that's good. I'm going to be biased, obviously. I would do Cincinnati. Cleveland has been doing a lot of remodeling and a lot of upgrades to their ballpark.
Yeah.
So I don't know too much about Cincinnati to be honest with you. Although they do have a great manager in Terry Francona there. So they're a couple of years away from, really having a competitive team there. Cleveland, it's really good. You guys vote, who is an absolute wonderful piece he was awesome as a catcher with the Oakland A's. And then now as a manager, the city of Cleveland is really doing a lot of good things around that ballpark. So you guys I would end it at Cleveland for sure.
Gotta make sure I get the spirit of Albert Bell going through my veins.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can look at the Guardians of Traffic Bridge over there, so you'll see that there, right in front of, right by the ballpark.
Dude, I'm afraid because when Cleveland dropped their City Connects, you were so mad. So I don't
Still
wanna
mad.
see
Still mad. What are you talking about?
I like those uniforms. They're fun.
Listen, and again, they're not bad uniforms.
Oh
They
my
are
gosh.
a great alternate uniform. They're not really a City Connect uniform.
Just say that it's Savannah Bananas in uniforms. It's not baseball. Oh, man, I appreciate you, man. It's in the booth.
All right, thank you, man.
Oh, man, that's cool, dude.